Jaws is the greatest accident in the history of cinema. Brilliant, right? Unforgettable even. But here's the thing. That's not the movie Steven Spielberg set out to make. Spielberg had originally wanted the great white shark that menaces the people of Amity Island to be a constant presence in the film. But it turned out saltwater wasn't exactly conducive to animatronics.
That's a much maligned shark, and I'm kind of responsible for creating a lot of the bad mouthing about the shark, because the shark didn't really work all the time. It didn't work hardly at all.
So instead of shooting on any given day in the summer of 1974, Spielberg and his crew had to figure out a way to represent the monster they couldn't show, suggesting its presence through John Williams' insidiously simple score, employing a subjective camera for its underwater POV, showing us glimpses of its carnage, or even representing it by, shall we say, alternative means. It worked. It worked brilliantly. From its very first scene, Jaws grabs audiences with its simplicity and its intensity. But we still wouldn't regard it as a classic if we didn't care about the people at its center. See, while the effects team tried to make the shark work day after day after day, the rest of the production had to flesh out the rest of the movie.
There were all these radio mics all over the island, and they were always saying, "The shark is not working. The shark is not working. Repeat, the shark is not working."
We just waited around. We just waited and waited and waited.
So every day the shark didn't work, Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, and Robert Shaw would sit around with Spielberg and screenwriter Carl Gottlieb, building out their characters and their relationships. They'd think of jokes or bits of business, or find little ways to make the film richer and more character-driven, even building out the guys we weren't necessarily supposed to like.
Nobody's going in. Please, gentlemen.
The Indianapolis speech, everybody remembers.
I'll never put on a life jacket again.
But think about all the other moments that just glide by, jokes and observations that tell us so much about who these characters are and where they come from.
Which I wanted to prove today by cutting the shark open, but you want to let that breathe for nothing.
And think of the way Spielberg presents Amity as a living, breathing community with interests and issues that have nothing to do with the shark at all.
Now, we got a bunch of calls about that karate school. It seems that the 9-year-olds from the school have been karateing the picket fences.
Or the little ways we see Brody, who's not an islander, slowly becoming part of Amity just the same.
I don't think that's funny at all, I'm sorry.
That's not funny. That's not funny at all.
Ahoy, sloop! Don't raise sail. You're just gonna luff it. You got a paddle on the boat? So scull it out of here.
Someday, I'll tell people this is a scene from a Robert Altman picture.
Gentlemen, the officer asked me to tell you that you're overloading that boat.
We care about these characters. Well, most of them. And hope they'll be okay. So by the time Quint takes Brody and Hooper out to sea to hunt the shark, an hour into the movie, we are right there on board with them. And, of course, that shark could be anywhere. By that point in the movie, the water itself was scary. I love this shot. Every time I see Jaws with a crowd, and I see Jaws with a crowd as often as I can, the whole room flinches. We don't need to see the shark to be terrified of it. But here's the other reason we don't need to see the shark. We already know what it looks like. In the summer of 1975, it was impossible to walk into a showing of Jaws without knowing what the shark looked like. Peter Benchley's book was a national bestseller, and Universal used the same iconic illustration painted by Roger Castell for its poster. It's all there. The scale of the shark relative to its human prey, the implication that its approach is unseen and silent, the sheer simplicity of the concept.
Oh, boys! I think he's come back for his noon feeding.
Nowadays, Blockbusters open on thousands of screens at once. Universal limited Jaws to just 400 theaters, guaranteeing sellouts and long lines at the box office due to the demand. It was a great marketing move, but it also meant people would stand for hours staring at the poster, thinking about what the shark was going to do in the movie. It was going to be awesome, and it was going to be terrifying. And the genius of Jaws is that, thanks to malfunctioning effects, a lot of downtime, and a handful of extremely talented people, audiences got all that, and more. That's Jaws. See it before you go swimming.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.